Alright, so the next stage is to turn the fire on low and now start to distribute the meat. You can hear it sizzling, that means there's a little bit of water inside. Start to break up the chunks a little bit more. Start to break up the chunks a little bit more. Because you can't dehydrate chunks. You have to dehydrate little strings and slivers and granules and stuff like that. These chunks take a long time to dehydrate, if at all. So work on them while they're in the pan. It's easier than working on them in the trays. Because now there's no chance of spillage, right? Just work it and break it up. As you can see here, I still have some long bits. I'll try to preserve it as best I can, but it doesn't look too promising, this one. So the ones, if you get really freshly minced meat and the strands haven't frozen together that much yet and really consolidated, that's when you get really nice long strands, and you can actually get dehydrated pieces like that. But like for me, mine had thawed out a little bit on the way home and I then put it in the freezer. So at that time it starts to stick together and just become little granules more than strands. As you can see, there's still some steam coming out, so keep going, turn it until you don't see that much steam coming off every time you turn it. It's almost like cooking rice in a wok at this point. Probably should put in an Uncle Roger meme or something like that, because that's what's funny on the web at this point, right? But anyway, turn it. The fire is still on medium low kind of thing, because I don't want it to burn against the bottom. I just want to maintain a temperature on the surface which is more than 100 degrees centigrade or 212 degrees Fahrenheit. Right about now, we are about 35 minutes from the time we started cooking the meat in the wok. But as you can see, we are already with a very dry result and very grainy. There was no difficulty in having to mop up liquid or find a way to angle the pan to spoon out any water that's being released or oil or fat that's being released. All we did was just use the geometry of the wok and gravity. I just tilted it back a bit, and that, I think, helps a lot. And now that we are starting to see it being a bit more dry, toss it around to the side. What should I say? Spread it out, make it as thin as possible, because the meat is quite hot, and even below 100 degrees it will still continue to evaporate water out of it. Sorry for the knocking. That's the reality of using a wok. And just let it go. As you can see, there's not much steam coming off now. Just leave it for a while. There's a little bit coming out from the bottom because that's, I guess, the hottest point, definitely. And then turn it again. Basically what you're doing is exchanging it left and right, and by doing that you're actually flipping it. It's one reason why I like cooking in woks. I have a smaller carbon steel one in the back, and that's fantastic for turning food. On a high flame it really does a lot of good. At this point, actually, you could already turn off the heat and start moving to your dehydrator. but that's really up to you. I like to go a little bit longer, get out as much water as possible in the wok with the aid of fire and proper heat, because, well, to be honest, my dehydrator is just a regular stacker, you know, nothing great, not one of those drawer type dehydrators which are really good. Those make proper dehydrated volumes of food. Mine was bought because of, well, I want to try this out. Turned out really good. I've done fruits, done this. What else have I done? Yeah, mostly fruits and this. I bought, this time around I bought some minced pork. I'll be trying that later. But for that I think I just bought like, what was it? Half a kilo? 1 pound? Just to try out. I'm not sure how well dehydrated pork tastes. Haven't tried. I'm pretty sure it tastes good, but anyway, there's no point buying 2 kilos or 5 pounds thereabouts and turn out something which I don't like, right? Okay, as you can see, I'm turning now. It's becoming less and less steam coming off the meat, so I'm just going to spread it out and then turn off the heat. Definitely I'm going to spread it out, let it air out, and then I will go and set up my dehydrator, and then we will move over there, or rather we'll bring the trays over here. So first things first is to let this cool down, because, well, the dehydrated trays are all plastic, right? At least mine are. So I don't want to be putting heat that is too intense on them. And yeah, so for now just let it spread out and cool down and continue evaporating. You can still see a little bit of steam coming off of it. So that's still water loss, which is great. And once this is cooled down to a reasonable temperature, maybe about, I don't know, 40 degrees, cool, warm to the touch, then we'll start putting it in the dehydrator. I'll bring it back then. So just to go over, this is about the amount of water that we recovered out of the meat. Let me grab a scale and we can measure this. Okay, so I'm not sure if you can see this, but I'll just read it off for you. The cool thing is, that's in grams. I'll change it. I have an empty identical bowl as this, so, and then we tare that. No, that's unit, sorry guys. So tare that down to 0. So now when we put this up there, and of course we take out the spoon, that's 171 grams of water and very little fat, honestly. Well, just over 6 ounces of water that we got out of 4.7 pounds of minced beef, sorry. So doing the math, that's 8% recovery, and I'm not sure how much else we lost to steam and the atmosphere. I really don't know how good that is as far as performance goes. But so, well, as you can see now, this is what we're left with. It actually looks pretty good as it is already, but we'll need to get this going. Yep, that's my shadow. Actually looks pretty good. So we'll now have to start preparing the dehydrator